The Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer, has been carrying stormwater for over 2,600 years. It was built by slaves and soldiers using stone, gravity, and human labor. In 2023, a single pump station in downtown Detroit failed, flooding streets with raw sewage. The volume the cloaca moves in one heavy rain is roughly the same. One system cost lives and muscle to build. The other cost $400 million. The question is not about budget. The question is about what those budgets were optimized for, and whether we, with all our engineering, forgot something ancient builders understood as instinct. If you have ever stood on a cracked sidewalk in a city where the downtown feels hollow, you know the sensation. The storefronts are boarded up, the only people walking are waiting for a bus. The silence has a texture. That texture is the sound of a design failure so complete that it has become invisible. The official story says modern planning is progress. Separate housing from commerce, separate work from life, separate people from their own streets. That story has been repeated for a century, but it never matched what you actually felt while walking through those empty blocks. Jane Jacobs documented the cost of that separation in 1961. In The Death and Life of Great American Cities, she mapped 200 intersections in New York, mixed-use blocks, where a grocery sat beneath an apartment, where a bakery neighbored a tailor, had lower crime and higher economic activity than single-use zones. The evidence was published 40 years before most planners acknowledged it. By then, the zoning codes had already been written. The damage was locked into law. That damage, locked into law over decades, is invisible until you know where to look. If you want to train your eye to see the pattern, subscribe. Every video on this channel is a field guide to the architecture of failure. And I want to hear the name of a street in your city that feels the same. Drop it in the comments. Now consider the engineers who built the Cloaca Maxima. They did not have computers. They did not have concrete that could withstand centuries of chemical erosion. They had stone, a slope toward the Tiber River, and a principle that guided every decision. They understood the street as a surface and the sewer as its digestive system. One was not functional without the other. The aqueducts that fed the city were not decorative. They were arteries. The water that flowed through the Aqua Appia, inaugurated in 312 BCE, was not only for drinking, it was for flushing. The system was designed as a single organism. If the sewers did not work, the streets were uninhabitable. If the aqueducts failed, the sewers turned to stone. That logic is the thing modern infrastructure lost. Pumps replaced gravity, concrete replaced stone. But the principle that made Rome resilient was not about material. It was about treating the city as a living network, not a machine. A machine has parts that can be swapped. A living organism has dependencies that cannot be severed without killing the whole. Modern sanitation is built like a machine. One pump fails, and a downtown drowns. One pipe corrodes, and sewage backs up into basements. The system was never designed to survive its own failures. A machine fails when one part breaks. A living organism adapts. That distinction is the difference between a city that survives a storm and one that drowns. If you want to understand which design principle your own city follows, subscribe. I am mapping every case study. And in the comments, tell me, does your city's infrastructure feel like a machine or a living network? One word. But the pattern hides something deeper. One design principle separates the cities that survive disasters from those that simply disappear from memory. And the evidence is not only in Rome. Jump to the Soviet Union in the 1950s. Planners in Moscow designed microdistricts modeled on medieval European neighborhoods. They wanted the social density, the shared courtyards, the pedestrian scale. They built hundreds of identical housing blocks across the country. What they missed was the non-visible infrastructure. Medieval streets had underground drainage that handled stormwater without flooding. The Soviets built concrete slab housing over unsealed ground. The courtyards flooded every spring. The infrastructure had been abstracted into blueprints and then abandoned in construction. The micro-districts were technically planned. They were functionally dead. Now here is the part the textbooks skip. The ancient builders did not just build differently, they measured it differently. Frontinus, appointed water commissioner of Rome in 97 CE, left a treatise documenting every aqueduct's capacity. He recorded flow rates in quinariae, a unit based on the diameter of a pipe. That seems primitive. But Frontinus was measuring something modern engineers often ignore: the relationship between supply and waste. He knew exactly how much water the city needed to clean itself. He knew exactly how much sewage the system could carry. He did not build redundant capacity. He built sufficient capacity, then maintained it with a state-funded corps of workers. The Lex Julia de Aqueductibus, passed in 21 CE, mandated regular inspections. Rome treated its underground infrastructure as a public asset worth preserving. Modern cities treat sewers as invisible liabilities, buried and forgotten until they fail. Bring both case studies together, and the convergence becomes unavoidable. Rome and the Soviet microdistrict failed or succeeded for the same reason. The Romans built for human scale and biological logic. The Soviets built for ideological symmetry and abstract planning. One produced a sewer that still works. The other produced concrete ghost towns. The principle is the same. If you design infrastructure as a closed system of interdependent parts, and you maintain those parts as if the city depends on them, the city survives. If you design for efficiency metrics, cost per linear foot, flow rate under ideal conditions, you produce systems that look good on paper and fail in practice. You have walked through cities shaped by that failure. The difference between a downtown that hums and one that echoes is not the age of the buildings. It is the presence of a design principle that puts human bodies at the center of every decision. Ancient Rome built that principle into stone. Modern cities built it out of zoning codes. Ancient Rome put human bodies at the center of infrastructure. Modern cities put efficiency metrics at the center. That one choice shapes every street you walk. If you want to see how one city reversed that choice, subscribe. I'm not done with this investigation. And in the comments, share one way your city either honors or ignores human scale. I want to see the pattern from your end. The result is visible in every boarded up window you have ever passed without asking why. But there is a city that reversed the pattern. A city that looked at its failing downtown, identified the missing principle, and rebuilt its infrastructure from the ground up. What they did challenges everything you just learned. That is the story for the next chapter. For now, understand this. The silence of a dying downtown is not an accident. It is the predictable outcome of a system that optimized for the wrong variable. The ancient builders knew which variable mattered. They measured it, they maintained it, and their city still stands. So next time you drive past a boarded up main street, ask yourself one question. Was the infrastructure beneath that street maintained with the same care as the Cloaca Maxima? The answer will tell you more about the city than any census report. The reason is not money. It is a choice about what a city is for.
Waste away from ancient Rome to the Tiber River.